In our first story, Ghanaians will from today no longer enjoy the free water services following President Kufuor's directive to the Ghana Water Company Limited. The social intervention was to cushion the public against the impact of COVID-19. As this intervention comes to an end, some citizens in the national capital have been reacting. JoyNews' Annabella Ohinijan has more.
Government will absorb the water bills for all Ghanaians for the next 3 months, i.e. April, May and June. All water tankers, publicly and privately owned, are also going to be mobilized to ensure the supply of water to all vulnerable communities.
President Kufuor announcing that government will absorb water bills for Ghanaians from May to June 2020. It was part of COVID-19 relief for the people. The intervention was then extended until 31st December 2020. As the program comes to an end, the responses from water consumers have been varied here in the capital.
I wish it would stay because it has helped a lot of us, a lot. Like washing craft, I didn't go out and go and pay for it and then fetch the water. I just fetched it free and I'm using it and then everything is cool. So I think it's supposed to stay. Yeah. They don't have to cut it out. We beg them.
But were there days where you had challenges with the flow of the water?
Yes. Yeah, there were days. Like Friday evening, then it will stop coming, and then maybe Monday or Sunday evening, then it will start coming again.
If it help, it's no help. It's not help. Right now, see it right now. You just want it right now. Is it happening all right? See, it's not coming right now. So we're in the city. You know Osu? Huh. Yeah, it's Osu, right? I have to take my bag to fetch water in the Osu area.
It has helped us in so many ways. Personally, I'm able to bathe with 2 or 3 buckets of water now. The free water policy has helped us a lot, especially we the aged. The government has done well, but I was hoping they would end it after the new year.
My house is far from where the free pipe is, so normally I don't benefit from, because I can't carry my bucket, or my family cannot carry their bucket and then come and fetch where the water is. So I think they're supposed to do it where it will benefit from everybody.
I didn't enjoy the free water at all. I still buy water because the owner said she feared she will pay when the free water policy ends.
At first, I'll be fetching it at Asundwe, but the free water is just behind my house. So if I cross the road, I can fetch it and then come and do what I want to do with it.
Well, while others say they didn't benefit from the free water policy, those who enjoyed this policy hope it stays a bit longer despite government's decision to end it. The multi-million-dollar question is whether or not this is sustainable in the long term. Should it be extended any further, especially when the Ghana Water Company has complained for years about the huge cost of processing water given activate of illegal small-scale miners. Annabella Ohinijan reports for Joy News.
Away from that story, the police in the Ashanti region have gunned down 2 suspected armed robbers as they're engaging them in a shootout. The suspected armed robbers, numbering about 4, had embarked on a robbery expedition at Santasike Jase, Oting Nkwanta and its environs. Police say the robbers succeeded in robbing occupants of about 5 houses of their money, mobile phones, laptop computers and other personal effects. Police Public Relations Officer ASP Godwin Ahianyo wants medical facilities in the region to help the police identify the wounded suspects who may visit their facilities.
The Ashanti Regional Police Patrol Team, today 30th December 2020, engaged some suspected armed robbers in a shootout leading to the death of 2 of them. The suspected armed robbers, numbering about 4, had embarked on a robbery expedition at Santasike Jase, Oting Nkwanta and its environs, where they succeeded in robbing occupants of about 5 houses of their mobile phones, monies, laptops, and other personal effects. The police information room and command center received a number of distress calls on the robbery and dispatched police patrol teams within the area to the scene. The robbers on scene police opened fire. The team also returned fire, leaving 2 of the suspected robbers between the ages of 20 and 30 years dead. 2 others who are suspected to have sustained gunshot wounds managed to escape. On the spot search at the scene revealed 2 weapons, 1 foreign pistol loaded with 3 live ammunition, 1 revolver with 3 spent ammunition, 2 big backpacks containing 3 laptops, computers, 24 assorted mobile phones, 2 machetes, and a cash sum of 3,580 cedis. The bodies of the deceased persons have since been deposited at the Petition Hospital awaiting autopsy and identification, whilst efforts are underway to get those who managed to escape arrested. Meanwhile, the command is appealing to all medical facilities in the region and elsewhere to be on the lookout for anyone who visits their facilities with suspected gunshot wounds to report same to the nearest police station or call the following telephone numbers, that is 1-855-5 and 191 to assist police with information.
Let's stay with security, and tonight the majority of Ghanaians will mark the end of 2020 in one social activity or the other. It is a tradition that Ghanaians mark the passage of time with a church service, but there are those who engage in revelry and make merry in their own way. But with the increase in social activities, crimes are rampant, and so security experts are warning that thievery and armed robbery will be rife tonight. The public must be careful. We are joined by Adib Sani, a security analyst who has some advice on how to keep safe during the festivities. Adib, thanks for joining us. Happy New Year in advance, first of all.
My pleasure.
Great. Now, tell us, first of all, how real this increased security threat is.
Well, Daniel, if you take a closer look at crime statistics over the years, you would see a consistent pattern in the spike of criminal activities, especially home invasions, robberies, of course, pickpocketing, and even cyber criminality going up. And it's always been a consistent pattern, primarily because of the fact that some people would want to survive by hook or crook means during these festive season. And a lot of potential criminals know full well that you and I might keep a lot of cash at home because we wouldn't want to frequent the bank ATM, every now and then because our expenditure goes up. And to keep up with the expenditure, we would have to keep a lot of money at home. There are also renovations. You would want to do deco. You would want to do new things because you are expecting people from all around the world coming to join forces with the family to celebrate this season. So obviously we would invite a lot of artisans, from carpenters to masons to plumbers, into our homes. And the unfortunate thing is we give them so much access. And in criminology, we have something we call crime of opportunity. The person is not necessarily a criminal, but if you give him the opportunity, he grabs it and grabs it well. So we have to be really worried about the kind of people we invite into our homes and the unfettered access we sometimes give them. It becomes, a security nightmare in the end. And most importantly, there are a lot of exchange of gifts, from loved ones. You can imagine having a PS5 at home and letting the whole community know that you have a PS5. Considering how valuable it is, criminals might want to break in and grab it.
So you focus a lot on home invasions, which is very important, but for those who will be stepping out, for church services, sitting somewhere with their friends and grabbing a drink or two, how can we ensure that our safety is paramount?
Well, before leaving the home, sometimes we don't live within the apartment alone. We have other people. We usually are so fond of leaving the keys under the doormats, on top of the door, in the flower pot or under the flower pot. So anyone who returns from the crossover or late night crusade earlier would pick the key. And now Ghanaians are so fond of leaving the keys on car ties. Now the criminals are very much aware of this, so it's important to either leave the key with a trusted person, okay, or you don't leave it at all. If you can duplicate, I think that could also help. But out there, especially the church crusade, I expect that before you organize such a crusade where you would have thousands of people coming, you need to do some consultation. I mean, you could have someone coming to do a security audit of the venue, because what you do is to establish what we call a security perimeter, get people within the church who have some skills in security, or perhaps organize volunteer groups and restrict the number of access into the convention center. That is extremely key. And these days, metal detector checks, I mean, the metal detector machine, I have some, it's not very expensive. I mean, you can procure and try as much as you can to subject every person who comes into the grounds to a metal detector check. So we don't have anybody hiding a gun or another offensive weapon, okay? So it is also very, very important to even have volunteer security personnel trained and immersed within, the check service, so they're able to keep an eye on people whose behavior doesn't really look right. Because criminal elements might want to take advantage to not just cause harm to people, but steal valuables, such as bags and mobile phones, and people would have to be very careful. And these church services last late into the night. Please, after the church service, maybe 4 a.m., 3 a.m., you shouldn't walk home alone, especially secluded areas. Try as much as you can to avoid shortcuts, especially at night. Usually late at night or in the morning, there's no traffic. So why avoid the main route, which is much safer and better lit, okay? And if you are a lady, especially if you are going home, you can get someone to accompany you. Walking alone at night is usually very dangerous. And as much as we can, we should change our routes, whether it's even during the festive season or off the festive season, especially for journalists who would have to wait late until night after the late news before going home. Let us vary the trajectory, the routes we use to our homes rather than using the same routes. Criminals are able to establish a profile of you and become extremely vulnerable.
Adesanya, thank you so much for joining us with those essential tips that we need as we head out tonight to mark the end of the year. Now, to other stories, and the NDC's presidential candidate, John Dramani Mahama, has accused the Electoral Commission of vote padding, engaging in wrong aggregation of valid votes and breaching constitutional provisions. These actions, he argues, resulted in the unlawful declaration of the NPP's Nana Addo Dankwa Kufuor as president-elect. He wants the apex court to set aside the declaration by the EC and order a second election between himself and President Kufuor.
Spent your entire lives knowing only democracy. You know a Ghana in which every 4 years the citizens go to the ballot box to exercise their right to choose their leaders who they believe will serve their best interest. You know a Ghana in which the baton of power has been passed graciously and without incident from one party to another. A country with hundreds of radio stations and dozens of newspapers. A country where citizens can openly critique the performance of their elected officials. A country where they can protest peacefully and without fear of punishment. It is a Ghana that your mothers and fathers, your grandmothers and grandfathers wanted you to know. It is a Ghana that they dreamed of, and some even died trying to make that dream a reality. But also listening tonight are the many of you who remember a different Ghana. In that Ghana, most, if not all, of those political transitions and social liberties I just spoke of earlier did not exist. The airwaves were not filled with radio stations. There were not numerous newspapers. People held their peace because to complain about the people in power was to risk all manner of reprisals. In that Ghana, presidential terms were interrupted by coup d'etats and former heads of state were executed. There was Kalabule and Operation Feed Yourself, not to mention years of hunger, bushfires, drought, and one economic recovery program after another. Even the Ghana of the Komipreko demonstrations bear little resemblance to the Ghana of today. We've traveled quite far as a nation in such a short period of time. The road has not been easy, nor has it been absent of obstacles. And that is why our beloved nation, Ghana, is often referred to as the trailblazer on the African continent. With each achievement, we have grown stronger as a people and as a nation. Through these trials and tribulations, our democracy has also been strengthened. My brothers and sisters, in a democracy as strong as ours, peace and justice can, and in fact, they usually do coexist. And that is because in a democracy such as the one we have built in Ghana, it is the people...
John Dramani Mahama there. Now, a member of the NDC's legal team, Dr. Abdul Basit Bamba, says Mr. Mahama's election petition did not ask the Supreme Court to overturn the result because they sought to simplify the process. He describes it as a people's petition, one which was designed to carry the public along throughout the process. The NDC, therefore, before going to court, argued that Mr. Mahama had won the election, that the Electoral Commission and President Kufuor conspired to rob them of their victory. Their petition, however, states that President Kufuor failed to obtain the needed 50% plus 1% of the votes, though he was in the lead. Speaking on Prime Morning today, Dr. Bamba explained the departure from that initial argument.
Look, you see, if you are going to have a shortened time period for a case to be done, unlike what happened in 2012, 2013, what it means is that the time for the consideration of the issues, if you go and produce 14,000 pictures, how are they going to consider all that in 42 days? So what you do is you find the most effective legal strategy for the core of your case to be presented without all the unnecessary details and what have you. And the legal team thought that the best way to present this case, make it a very simple, straightforward, easy case to understand, make it essentially the people's petition is to use the data used by the EC in the declaration of the knife. That is the more effective way to present the case.
Is it not more important, as Mr. Mahama mentioned, to ensure that justice is served, so that if there is evidence you have to show that there is an injustice, which would require a remedy that does not even require a rerun, you rather use that evidence, whether or not it's boring, whether or not it's complicated. What is right is right.
That evidence will be presented when the parties file their witness statements. Remember that there's going to be a trial. So what a petition seeks to do, as required by the rules of court, is just to give the skeleton of your case. So just the fact, the basic material facts. But in terms of substantiating each of the points that you have made, you could use evidence from the pink sheets, from the collation sheets. You can even use evidence of experts in mathematics and statistics. So see this petition to just be kind of like a skeleton of the case that His Excellency...
Now, flag bearer of the NDC in the just ended election, John Mahama, stated in an address last night that he was headed to court to remove all doubts surrounding the election. His critics, however, say his petition contains errors, like the EC declaration he wants to be nullified. Helping us understand this better is private legal practitioner Martin Pebu, who has joined us via Zoom. Mr. Pebu, thanks for joining us. What are your general thoughts on this action the NDC has taken?
Oh, it's a huge boost to our... Know that whichever way it goes, this petition is going to help entrench our democracy. Because number one, you know, the demonstrations prior to the filing of the petition were seen by some as a sign that NDC does not believe in the rule of law. NDC does not believe in due process, right? But once this has been filed, at least this will, the filing of the petition will help to nullify those talks, you see. So Ghana is going to benefit. And also, look, for our democracy, if you read other democracies, you see how far they've come. Things like this, no matter what, through the opinions of the judges and everything that will go on in the court, we will find at least a lesson or two that will help us, or an idea or two that will help us improve the next election. So I'm all for it. It's good. Let's all keep our calm. That's very important. Keep our calm. Let's not engage in any contentious, contemptuous comments that may lead us into contempt of court. You remember the 2012 contempt cases, right? So citizens should be well advised. And then let's give the judges and the parties the space to prosecute the case.
Errors in the petition matter. It seems to have dominated the conversation. What's your view on that?
Yeah, I take it that a lot of our citizens are very much interested in the fun. Yeah, people want to get comic relief, the fun of it. So there's not something we can take from them. But speaking as a lawyer, those errors are bound. The errors are bound. They always, there's a lot of pressure. So these are petty errors that don't go to the substance of the case. So Daniel, the most important thing is that under the rules, John Mahama, because the last petition was fought by the parties, sometimes you slip in and mention NDC. No, we all know that this time the political parties are not part of the case, or even though they will support the Mr. Mahama and Mr. Kufuor. So Mr. Mahama and his lawyers have the right to go to court for permission to be able to correct the error. Look, in the 2012 petition, you'll find if you read the Supreme Court case, you'll find that Afarijan also admitted that there were some mistakes when he was announcing the results. So it tells you that these minor mistakes have always haunted us, but such is life.
Now, the Alliance for Social Equity and Public Accountability, ASEPA, petitioned the Chief Justice to recuse Justice Jones Doche from this case because Justice Doche's name has come up, though I must say it's been rumored that he's being considered for Speaker of Parliament. What's your view on this?
Daniel, that is a very complex matter, very complex. Number one, I say, well, it shows that citizens are very keen, and so they want to help, shape our democracy to the best. But obviously, on a practical level, if the system, so let's say if the MPP intends to have Mr. Justice Doche nominated as Speaker, it just follows that there is no way Mr. Doche would be, or Justice Doche would be empaneled for the case. There's no way. They would send a message to the Chief Justice. So it will be worked out. Because, remember, the proceedings are going to be for 42 days. And we all know that Parliament is going to be sworn in on the 7th. Yes, today is what, 31st, a week from now. So on a practical level, there is no chance. There's no chance of Justice Doche sitting on the case if only the MPP intends to nominate him for Speaker. But as I said, let's be careful not to come too hard on ASEPA. As I said, you see, they're trying to participate. We want more citizens to engage with the system because, just a few people talking is just way too much for us, okay?
Right. Martin Pebu, thank you very much for joining us and providing that clarity for us. President Kufuor says he is humbled by the renewal of his mandate by Ghanaians for another 4 years. The president, according to the Electoral Commission, won 51.3% of the votes. And for him, his victory in the December 7 presidential election places enormous responsibility on him to fulfill the expectations of the people. Receiving the last report of the National Council of State, President Kufuor said he will be guided by the Constitution and the teachings of the Bible in the discharge of his duties.
I have been humbled by the renewal of my mandate to continue for a second and final term as President of the Republic by a decisive majority of the Ghanaian people. It imposes on me, I think as Mr. Chairman you pointed out, Nana Chairman you pointed out, some very, very serious and grave responsibilities. But on occasions like this, and when events like that occur, the best that you can say and do is to give off your very best, guided by Almighty God and the teachings of Holy Scripture, in my case as a Christian, is to do the best that you can. And that is the assurance that I want to give you and the people of Ghana, that I will continue to discharge my functions to the very best of my abilities. And I hope that in so doing, I will meet and fulfill the expectations of the Ghanaian people. I want to thank you very much for this visit and for the output embodied in this final report, and to wish you all a happy and prosperous new year. We will be constituting, when things settle down, a new council. Maybe some of you may reappear. We will see. And in some cases, it will be the electorates that will make that decision.
Let's now hear from the chairman of the council, Nana Otuo-Sirbo.
We note with satisfaction that our suggestions and recommendations have largely been accepted and implemented by your government. The Seventh Council is grateful for your cooperation and support, as well as the cooperation of Parliament for the passage of the Council of State Act 2020. This has been a lacuna in the Council since its establishment pursuant to the promulgation of the 1992 Constitution. The Act will promote greater efficiency in the work of the Council through the appointment of its own staff, control of its own budget.
You're live on JoyNews Desk. We're moving away from protocol a bit today. It's the final show for the year, so we are breaking bread this time with Daryl. Daryl, how are you?
It's not going to be fun this time because, as you said in the intro before we went on the break, the prices of bread products are going to go up. That's not the way you want to begin the year, is it?
At all.
Yeah,
Why?
so just, it has to do with imports. They import the flour, the wheat for the flour, and the prices are going up. And so the traders are complaining they have to pass on the cost to the consumer, which they are not excited about, but they have to do it, otherwise they're going to be running into losses. And so when you buy cocoa with your bread, expect maybe a 50 pesos increase in the price of bread. I don't know.
I'm just wondering how that will even work, because
we just probably might have to break bread. Yes. Like you said. Yes. And so Prince Appiah has been speaking with bakers in the Ashanti region, and he has this report.
Che Buedu is a baker here in Kumasi. She's been plying this trade for many years. As a result, she's a member of the Bakers Association. She observes prices of flour, sugar and other ingredients like margarine, eggs and salt have all increased. Theresa says the association will increase the price of bread come January 2021.
First one is something maybe 130 ubenyabi.
Prices of ingredients have gone up. Suppliers will reduce their prices. If we do not do something about our pricing, we will run into losses. Our businesses will collapse.
Some type of the bread, the quality wouldn't come. Be the ne born cost. And if Sunny no mercy corner, I'll say a home baby. Me I can say, we say next year some man to make one big.
The bakers have called on government to either reduce taxation on wheat or reduce the cost of flour to save their businesses. Madam Theresa says the bakers could be compelled to cut down labor.
Yes, someone pass it. One more down share. Companies now,
government must do something about the taxes on imported ingredients. Our main ingredient is flour.
What is now, after one also at me at the answer, the main ingredient for baking industry money is some.
The bread retailers fear being pushed out of business without government subventions.
We are really
in a difficult situation. We struggle to sell our bread products lately. Government must help us. If prices go up, it will affect us. Patronage will go down and we will run into losses.
In the 5 city, no better 6 and 7. Now I'm the draw beton, so better. It be crying to me because of so sick and 5 city. See, that's all the Berman 5 city never ran out lost. Oh, Obeja Hako.
Prince Apia reporting.
All right, time to look for other alternatives like Kose or Agbedikakulu or something.
Or Bofrot.
Or Bofrot. Yeah, because we can't continue importing so much. Because
but corn. Isn't corn used? Isn't flour used for Bofrot?
Yeah, flour is used for Bofrot. That's why Agbedikakulu may be the best option for now.
Yes, you know what we called it in Takrady?
What?
Banchikakro.
Oh, nice. And just to add, we can talk about cornbread, other.
Okay. So different types of flour.
Abla does not agree with you on the fact that Agbedikaklo is Banchikaklo, whatever you call it in Takrady.
Abla didn't grow up in Takrady with me. So my producer Abla, who is at the back, grew up in Takrady and is from the Volta region, cannot challenge me on what was and what was in Takrady.
Yeah, and so we should consider that. I mean, corn. Other products. I mean,
to make the bread. I think it's interesting because with most cultures that don't have the flour, they have a kind of bread.
Yeah.
But they don't make it from the flour that we know.
Yeah. So time to look at other alternatives. We turn to the insurance sector. The banking sector had to do a recapitalization so that the firms would be stronger. The insurance sector is also doing the same. And the good news is that, well, depending on where you are, that the NIC is likely to extend the deadline for the minimum capital requirement for insurance firms to January 2020. Now, this follows discussions between the insurance firms and the regulator. The earlier deadline was to take effect from June next year. Here's Dr. Justice Yao Ofori, who revealed to Joy Business that the extension will not affect the proposed capital.
We need a strong insurance sector whereby claims are paid promptly. We need insurance companies that are well capitalized to actually undertake such risk. And that is why we have actually reviewed our minimum capital requirements, reviewed it from 15 million to 50 million. The idea is to make sure that insurance companies actually have the financial strength, they have the capacity to retain a lot of business instead of repatriating our foreign exchange and putting so much stress on our CD.
Talking about the recapitalization, we understand there are some calls to your office that the date should be extended due to COVID-19. Have you firmed up a new date for this, meeting the deadline?
Yeah, we have. We will report. Actually, we are going to write to the industry today and give them an extension.
So when should we expect the date, the new date?
It will come out today or tomorrow.
All right, and so 2021, a year to look forward to.
If you're an insurance company, that is.
Insurance company. Well, we're talking about imports and the cost of importing stuff into the country. It's going to go higher. The Ghana Standards Authority, released a statement saying that charges were going to go up. Now it's saying that, contrary to earlier reports, that the prices were going to go up because the charges on certification was going to go up. We had it wrong. And so it says the agency is denying an increase in import charges, contrary to media reports that the agency will, from the 1st of January, increase the charge in clearing goods at the ports by 20%. The Director General of the Ghana Standards Authority, Professor Alex Dodu, says the authority does not have the mandate to levy import duties to the port. Now, he spoke to Gifty and Appear on the AM show.
100% categorical. Import duties have not been increased. Let me repeat it slowly.
Okay.
There have been no increase in import duties. And I would actually challenge anyone who claims or says there have been import duties. But I can give you the context which has led to this story. But it's so important to be absolutely categorical.
Okay.
For starters, the Ghana Standards Authority cannot and does not levy import duties at the port. It's the duty of Parliament by law.
Okay.
Charges cannot be flown in as sorties. It's the duty of Parliament, and Parliament has not. So what happened was that in 2019 December, the Standards Authority was charged to implement fees and charges for 8 services. And if you permit, I can read the letter to you, because I think that will throw some light on why this noise has come about, unfortunately.
So you were charged to put in some charges for your services as Ghana Standards Authority.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
And they were not increases. In fact, several of them were decreases.
Let's pull up that story.
So this is a letter from the Ministry of Finance, dated 31st December. Review of fees and charges. Reference is made to the proposals for review of fees and charges collected by Ghana Standards Authority for the delivery of goods and services as follows. So basically, every agency, if you want to increase or reduce your charges, Parliament does it. So you go to the Ministry of Finance, they put it out. This is different from the 1% import duty charged by law under the Import and Export Act. And that is a law of Parliament, and only Parliament. Not even the executive, not even the president can touch that.
Okay. So, but there are some extra costs.
There are no extra costs. So I will read what the letter states, and I think that is where the ambiguity came in. So the letter stated, approval has been granted for the upward review of the fees as follows. The first statement said 20% of existing fees and charges. Introduction of new fees and charges. Accordingly, the approved fees, Appendix 1, were provided and laid in Parliament. The LI came into effect following 21 days on 22nd November. The purpose of this letter from the Ministry of Finance, signed by the Deputy Minister, is to request the Ghana Standards Authority to take the necessary steps to implement the fees as approved. But let me give you some details of the fees. Because
so what I want to understand is there are some extra charges for consumers to pay.
No. So let me read. The following fees have remained the same and remain the same. Shopping malls and supermarkets, cement products. This is just the registration fee. Some are as low as 500 cedis.
So the Ghana Standards Authority clarifying that the fact that they are increasing charges on items that they have to certify is not going to translate in the cost of importing stuff into the country. And so what we live to see.
We live to see. It's good news because, our economy is very import dependent. And so it's necessary that...
Which is not so ideal.
No. The funny thing is that even though we had a trade surplus, a balance of trade surplus in the past couple of years, it hasn't really been reflecting much, because now what we import is not just suits and ties anymore. We also import services.
Yeah.
There's a lot of foreign businesses that have set up here, and they repatriate cash. And that's why the exchange rate is doing what it is.
That's very true. And what a year has been, as we conclude, a year where businesses have been hit by the pandemic and things have just changed.
Drastically. Now the conversation is about Zoom calls, new normal and everything. But I'll tell you what, I ended the year with on a bit of a high note because of what I heard you say on the business news just a few days ago, that the city would end this year as one of the best performing
Surprisingly. Surprisingly. Anyway, so I've got to leave because sports is coming your way next. Daniel.
Yes, thank you very much, Daryl, for bringing us business, the final business bulletin on News Desk for the year 2020. Ureku Ampofo does us be honest in sports next. You'll have a News Desk. Ureku Ampofo joins us for us to look at the biggest sports stories of the year. And, our wall says it all. Thomas Partey made all of us proud this year.
I think it was a big moment and a huge moment for the whole of Ghana. The English Premier League has started as the best in the world currently. So to have your poster boy playing there, and the manner which he transferred there, very dramatic, last minute, had to speak to his dad. His dad didn't know whether the deal was coming through or not. And then Arsenal ended up paying his release clause in a very difficult moment. Remember, those coronavirus clubs were hit financially. So to fork out 50 million to pay for Thomas Partey was a big one. And that certainly did trend all over the BBC. All big news outlets were
the
reporting
music that was composed because Thomas Partey came in.
There was such a big hype around it. I'm sure it will take time for him to recoup that money. So far, he's been hit with a couple of injuries. But we'll see how it goes. Certainly, the sky's the limit for Partey.
Yes. But my biggest story of the year, of course, is the 30-year wait which came to an end for Liverpool. Picking up the English Premier League at long last.
Of course, for Liverpool and Liverpool fans, it was really a test of patience. And even when they were, 18, 19 points clear, fans were still not confident because they hadn't seen the finish line. And there were worries that coronavirus was going to lead to the league being cancelled and the 30-year wait was going to be extended. So it was a tough period for Liverpool fans, one that was finally, laid to sleep after they were crowned champions when they beat Chelsea. So I think it was a good year for Liverpool. Jurgen Klopp, crowned coach of the year for this achievement. A remarkable team that he's built in the past 4 years.
Yes, and a lot must be said about Jurgen. But of course, there's still a lot more that has happened in sports. Where do we go next? Yeah,
so I did speak of COVID-19, and it did really hit the sports. There was a time where Liverpool were not playing. Teams were not playing. There was absolutely no football. And then the Joy Sports team had to be creative. And, we had to bring in, Peter Drury and Jim Beglin. These are guys that look very far from us. They always give commentary on all these big games and all that. So the Joy Sports team put together a special edition of PM Express, which was titled Football After COVID, where we had Robert Marara from South Africa. And then we had Peter Drury, who's a commentator, and Jim Beglin. He usually partners him for the Premier League commentaries as well. And we had all these guys, sharing insights, being industry leaders as to how football could possibly return after this virus. And I think it was one of the highlights for the Joy Sports team, being able to reach all these guys as well. But yeah, it's been a big year. There was also the sad story of losing Kobe Bryant in an accident where he died.
And that's how the year started, actually.
Yeah, that's how it started. And I think that was a hint as to how difficult the year was going to be. It was a very tough news to take because even if you're not an NBA lover, you could still relate to Kobe Bryant in a way.
He was that big, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was across football, he was across baseball. His legacy certainly would live beyond basketball. And, it just had to, the story just had to end in a way that Lakers were going to win the championship. And that's what they did, winning their 17th title after beating Miami Heat 4-2 in the, conference final of the NBA. So I think
we really have to respect LeBron James for doing that at age 35.
Yeah, and I mean, I do appreciate him a lot for the credit that LeBron. He did, give to Kobe, even when he won. And he said he did win the championship MVP as well, but he never made it about him. And in all the pictures that he posted, he was always giving tribute to Kobe Bryant and saying how he wished he was there to see Lakers win the NBA title again. So at least it was a good end to what was a very difficult start for Lakers themselves.
Yes. So, Oreko, all in all, I know we've talked about the Peter Drury, that's program that we had, but the impact of COVID itself on sports globally has been huge. I don't think that the recovery has come fully. Because, I mean, even this week, games have been cancelled.
Yeah, it's a long-term effect. And even with games that have been postponed, like Tokyo 2020 and, the Africa Cup of Nations, there's still uncertainty and as to whether the games would really take place next year. A lot depends on the speed of, the vaccine and how effective it is. So things are still hanging in the balance. Football administrators are still trying their best to ensure that football goes on. Ideas of football going on a break to ensure that the new strain is handled better has been put away by the Premier League, saying that they still have it under control and games should be played. So it's still a difficult period, and I don't think 2021 coming is going to make it any clearer. And so it looks like COVID might be around for a while, but I think sports in general has done well. It showed that it's resilient and it's not going to go down easily.
No,
and
definitely bounced back.
Bounced back, and there are quite a number of sports still being played. So we do hope that the virus will go away soon and things would certainly go back to normal, hopefully in 2021.
Right, thank you very much, Oreko Ampofo, for joining us. And thank you for staying with us on News Desk throughout the year. This will be our final edition. When we come back tomorrow, it will be a brand new year. But I will be back at midday to present Joy News today. So I'll say my final goodbyes then.